Ladies and gentlemen, the minister has just issued a property cooling measure warning in a very subtle way, and very few people caught that. And I think it's important for me to highlight this to everybody. Let's take a look at this video, shall we? On the 12th of March, Channel News Asia interviewed Minister Desmond Lee, and he said many things. They are very interesting. Amidst many things he said something that was very subtle, but a very serious warning that was issued. He described and talked about many things, right? From heritage building to housing affordability, BTO, and all this. And he builds up a story and then finally delivers a warning, right? So I thought it's very important for everybody to watch this. And let's take a look at what the story build-up it is. First of all, Mr. Desmond Lee went through a narrative of explaining what the things the government has done to clear the BTO backlogs. And it's true, right? They've done a great job. And in a few years ago, the backlog was about 3.7 applicants per flat. Many of my nephew and nieces couldn't get their flats despite queuing for a very long time. And nowadays, they all got it, okay? So last year, the number of flats applicants per BTO is now 1.9 first-time applicants. So it's dropped dramatically. And the new supply of BTO flats has gone up significantly. And they have promised to build 100,000 flats from 2021 to 2025. I think they have already achieved 2/3 of that already. So I thought it was quite interesting. Okay, more than 63,000 were already rolled out, and they'll be launching another 20,000 or so this year. So this is a huge achievements, and many of the people whom I talk to, especially my nephew and nieces, actually managed to get their flats already. During the COVID period, the resale prices have gone up dramatically, but yet the government has made a point to try to stabilize and maintain the BTO prices. So as a result, market affordability remains there. To be frank, I think we do see some BTO flats prices go up quite a lot, especially in the mature estate, especially in the prime estate. But that they also dealt with it in the next program. So this part, we got to give credit to government for achieving that. Yes, we do see some resale prices shooting up, and I'll talk about that later. And we also see a corresponding increase in BTO prices, especially in the prime estates. But in the non-mature estates, actually the prices remain quite affordable. I think that's a good plus. There's a lot more effort that's put in to help young couples to get their BTO. One of it I talked about, they have reduced the down payment from 5 to 10% to 2.5% for young couples, especially for those that are still studying and in NS. And that's quite a surprising move. And I think that's all great, and it leads to a lot more marriages that I've seen. And also, the waiting time used to be 4 to 5 years, in some cases 6 years. Right now, on average, it is now reduced to about 3.5 years. And that's really a dramatic improvement from what it was during COVID period. So round applause for Minister Desmond Lee and his ministry in achieving this. And there are some social positive effect that's overflowed that many people fail to see. Because there was a huge ramp up on the construction sector, last year, Singapore actually avoided a recession because the construction sector contribute a lot to our GDP. Don't forget, last year, our exports actually fell significantly. We are a very big export-oriented country. So actually a fall in export will cause us to go down economically. But fortunately, because of the huge construction boom that's happening, I think this helped instrumentally to in Singapore avoiding a recession last year. So this is a huge plus that comes from this huge ramp up of BTO flats. Well, the second thing is that you may or may not realize this, but Singapore right now will probably avoid a Hong Kong type unhappiness among their young people. So in Hong Kong, there was a huge riot before the COVID period, and there was a lot of strikes and riots. There was a lot of fighting. People were very unhappy generally because prices of houses has really gone out of reach. Well, fortunately in Singapore, we put in a lot of effort to help the young people to afford to buy a house. So far, I rarely heard of young people who want to buy a house and yet cannot afford to buy a house in a non-mature estate. Now, for those people who say, I cannot afford to buy a house, it's because they want to buy a real super prime estate, or they have got a problem with getting income and work and things like that. But those cases are quite extreme. So I think this is a huge positive social overflow. A small mention must be made that because of the rollout of the Standard Plus and Prime model, right now we actually corrected certain HDB imperfection in the construct. So it's more difficult right now for people to get what I call a total or 4D effect in their HDB selection. So right now, if you get a prime estate, there's a lot of restriction, okay, and therefore, people start to think twice whether they actually want a prime estate. A lot of people go for these flats because they want to get a huge windfall, but I think the windfall has kind of narrowed already. So, it will now go to people who actually wants these flats. So I think this is a great improvement as well. And to the credit of government, again, we now see that the condo resale prices actually slow down and taper off, and eventually some sectors of the private property industry actually started to fall. So indeed, the prices of private properties is starting to stabilize, and this is a very good sign. We do not want property prices to crash, although some part of me selfishly want it to crash so that, maybe I can pick up some cheap deals and things like that. But actually, a property market crash is not healthy for the economy. And you just need to look at China to know that how bad the economy become when the property market crash. And also, you also realize that the Singapore private home rentals has started to soften and slow down and start to fall. So this is a good thing. So we do not have so much pressure right now on rentals as we have seen in the past. So if you speak to any real estate agent right now, you actually know that rentals have actually started to fall, and this is actually good for the economy in many aspects. This is a price index of the private residential property, and you can see that there was quite a steep jump and now kind of taper off. So I think that's a good sign. The rental price index also went up and now it's kind of tapering off as well. The government has done a great job in kind of slow down the growth and kind of taper it off, right? In some sectors, you actually see some decline as well. So I think this is a great success so far the government has achieved. And Minister Desmond Lee actually talked about all this. I've just elaborated now with figures. Now, it's very important for the story to build up eventually to what exactly is he warning about if everything is going so well, right? Well, there is one thing, right? There is one thing right now that the government actually issue, and it's a soft warning, okay, soft warning. So I'm going to talk about this based on my experience in reading government signals. First of all, if everything is doing so well, then there's nothing to be worried about, right? Prices are in check, everything is checked, rentals are coming down, private property prices coming down, transactions are coming down, everything is okay. Is that true? Well, not really. Let's take a look at what is not okay. So everything except one sector seems to be going out of whack. That is the HDB resale market. And if you see the HDB resale price index is actually still rocketing up. There's a very small, kind of a band, but I don't think that is signaling actually a slowdown in the price growth. So the HDB price index continued to go up in a very fierce trajectory, and that is not healthy. The other one thing that is very interesting is that the number of $1 million HDB resale flats have gone up dramatically, okay, dramatically. So every now and then I see news of this flat becoming $1 million house, a flat in Ang Mo Kio, in Toa Payoh, in Bishan, in Bukit Timah, Upper Bukit Timah, even in Jurong East where I stay, $1 million HDB flats now are very common. And I consider this what I call an eye-popping situation. And this is actually a serious problem because this is causing the market to go out of whack. So that's one thing I noticed how our government releases bad news is what I call a boy frog method. So for example, the GST is going to be increased from 7%, 9%. What did the government do? They tell it a distance away from before this event actually happened to kind of soften the blow, right? Tell people ahead. Sometimes when they want to deliver a bad news, they kind of hint to you first, and then gets louder and louder, eventually delivers it to you, right? So this is seems to be the way I think they deliver kind of a bad news or warning. This is probably true for most of the cases except the CPF one, but that's something I want to park it aside. Okay, but this is how I see this happening, and kind of caught it in a very subtle way in minister's interview right now. This is exactly what he said. I quote him. Number one, he says that we see interest rates staying higher for longer, and that is true, right? Look at the inflation right now. There is re-spiking again in US. We see economic uncertainties in the road ahead of us, and that is true, right? The whole global economy is back except the US, and unfortunately, we don't just trade with the US; we trade with every country's major trading blocks as well. We see geopolitical tensions, and that is absolutely true, from the wars in Middle East, in China, in Russia and Ukraine. In China, we have a property bubble burst and things like that, and there's a lot of friction between US and China. And all these will have an impact on the in the property sector. And that's a very important thing we all want to take note of. A lot of people insist that Singapore property market will never crash. They got to get their mind checked. Even Minister Desmond Lee actually warned everybody about that. So this is where he delivers the very subtle but very important warning. It was mentioned in about 30 seconds or maybe 20 seconds, but I'm going to quote him right now so everybody listen. We will monitor and take whatever measure that may be necessary to ensure stability in our property market and ensures that the property market does not run ahead of economic fundamentals. Now, this is a very important one. He delivers it very subtly, but very, very important for us to catch this. What he's saying basically is, I'm watching, or we are watching right now, and see whether things are okay or not okay. Things that are not okay, which I already pointed out what is not okay, I will make sure that I, minister, will make sure that we will take whatever measure, property cooling measure, especially to ensure stability in our in our property market, and ensure that it does not run ahead of economic fundamentals. So right now, our economy is not doing fantastically well, but yet the property price is rising. So can you tell me whether the HDB resale market is running ahead of economic fundamentals? Right? I don't think I need a 3-year-old child to tell me that there is something wrong in that sector. So I'm very sure the government is watching this thing very closely. And in time to come, if this is not corrected, they're likely to do something. So there is a strong likelihood that the government will do something in time to come if the HDB resale flat price bubble does not cool down or soften down. So I'm pretty sure that in a matter of quarters, maybe even lesser than that, if this trend will continue, I think the government will do something. And this is what we call a property cooling measure. And the government has done it before many times. There's no reason why they don't dare to do it again. Our government is not afraid of taking measures to deliver painful blows if it is necessary to correct a wrong. We have seen that in the closure of the SA account for CPF above 55 years old, although that kind of infuriated a section or a segment of the Singapore population, but that is something they deem right to do, they will do it. So for this one, it's even clearer. Right now, the HDB resale price is going out of whack from economic fundamentals. If this trend will continue, I'm quite sure they'll do something. So let's take their warning quite seriously. So now I might be wrong. Some of you say, Mr. Loo, you're anti-property again. This got nothing to do with it. I'm just reading the signals to what the government says. Private property, I think government has done a great job. BTO flats, they've done a great job. Rental market, they've done a great job as well. But HDB resale market, they have tried with some measures, it has not corrected, they will likely do something again if this trend were to continue. So I might be wrong, right? Let's discuss in my YouTube channel in the comment section below, or you can discuss this in my 1865 Telegram group called Loo 1865. So thanks for watching. Remember, give a like and subscribe to this video. A lot of work has gone behind to analyze this, and we'll see you in a day or two. Bye-bye.